Okay, welcome in. I'm just a few days behind when it comes to my hockey reviews, and I figured that because the Four Nations tournament is getting underway this evening, that I might as well get caught up on the National Hockey League from Saturday and Sunday. There were no games Monday or Tuesday, and because today's Wednesday, like I said, this will be the start of the Four Nations tournament. So on Saturday, we had a few games to review, starting in La Belle Province as the Canadiens played host to the New Jersey Devils. Jesper Bratt would kick things off for New Jersey in the first, getting his 17th of the goal, assisted by Thomas Tatar and Dougie Hamilton, 13:43 of the opening frame. Paul Cotter would increase the lead to 2-0 in the second, getting his 13th of the year from Bratt and Jack Hughes, 12:44 of the middle frame. Jack Hughes would score in the third, increasing the lead to 3-0, getting his 24th of the year, assisted by Pesci, a minute and 53 seconds of the third frame. His brother Luke Hughes is like, you know what? If Jack can score, so can I. He would get his 5th of the season from Meyer and Mercer, 10:09 of the third period. The Devils would shut out Montreal 4-0. The Tampa Bay Lightning were in Detroit to take on the Red Wings. Brandon Hagel would score a minute and 28 seconds in the first period, getting his 25th of the season from Kucherov and Charanek. Speaking of Charanek, he'd get on the goal scorer sheet himself. Not too long after that, getting his second goal of the season from Kucherov and McDonough, giving the Lightning a 2-0 lead. Vladimir Tarasenko would score roughly halfway through the period, 9 minutes and 47 seconds to be exact, getting his 7th goal of the year, assisted by Seider and DeBrincat. Braden Point would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 30th goal of the year, assisted by Goncalves and Brandon Hagel. 11 minutes and 49 seconds of the first. Nick Paul would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 15th of the year from Hagel and Charanek, 15:13 of the first, giving the Lightning a 4-1 lead. Patrick Kane would score, cutting the lead in half, getting his 12th goal of the year on the power play from DeBrincat and Raymond. 16:54 of the first period. So 6 goals were scored in the opening frame. Alex DeBrincat would cut the lead to 4-3, getting his 24th of the season, unassisted 14:29 of the second period. Dylan Duke, I believe, would get his first National Hockey League goal, so congratulations on that, assisted by Chaffee and Perbix, 4 minutes and 10 seconds of the third, increasing the lead to 5-3. Late in the third, Detroit would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not pan out, as Brandon Hagel feels like he scored or assisted on every goal in this particular game. Would get the empty netter, that getting his 26th of the year from Kucherov and McDonough. That guy is definitely on pace to get 30 goals this season. So Lightning would double up on the Red Wings, 6-3. The Carolina Hurricanes played host to the Utah Hockey Club. Jalen Chatfield would score just over halfway into the first, getting his 5th goal of the year from Jordan Staal and Svechnikov. Josh Doan would tie the game up at 1, getting his 3rd goal of the season on the power play from Michelli and Carcone, 17:35 of the first. Seth Jarvis would score in the second, giving the Hurricanes a 2-1 lead, getting a power play goal of his own. For Jarvis, that'd be his 21st of the season, assisted by Burns and Svechnikov. Sebastian Aho would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 19th of the season, unassisted, 8 minutes and 35 seconds of the second period. Clayton Keller would cut into that lead, getting his 19th of the year, making it 3-2 at that point, 10:19 of the second frame. Sebastian Aho would get his 2nd goal of the game shorthanded, his 20th of the season, assisted by Jarvis and Chatfield, giving the Hurricanes a 4-2 lead. Jarvis would get his 2nd goal of the game with just 45 seconds to go in the second, getting his 22nd of the season, assisted by Blake. So the Hurricanes had a 5-2 lead heading into the third period. Clayton Keller would cut into the lead, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 20th of the year on the power play from Sergachev and Genther, making it 5-3 at that point. Jordan Martinook would score in the empty net, getting his 10th of the season from Aho and Jarvis, increasing the lead to 6-3, 17 minutes and 16 seconds of the third. Jack Roslovic would increase the lead to 7-3 with a minute and 26 seconds to go. For Roslovic, that'd be his 19th of the season from Blake and Jaska. So the Hurricanes would win 7-3. All right, now we're off to Boston. as the Bruins played host to the Vegas Golden Knights. Brad Marchand would kick things off for the Bruins, getting his 20th of the year from Zadorov, 3 minutes and 17 seconds of the first. Speaking of Zadorov, he'd get on the goal scorer sheet himself, unassisted, getting his third goal of the season, 13:49 of the first. Mark Stone would get the Vegas Golden Knights on the board, getting a power play goal, his 14th of the season, assisted by Theodore and Brandon Saad, 15:09 of the first. Morgan Geekie would increase the lead to 3-1 for the Bruins, 15:07 of the second period. For Geekie, that'd be his 17th goal of the year, assisted by Pasternak. Zach Whitecloud would cut into the lead with 34 seconds to go in the second, getting his 4th goal of the year, assisted by Hanifin and Howden. In the third period, Pavel Dorofeyev would tie the game up, getting his 23rd goal of the year from Theodore and Eichel, 4:54 of the third. Thomas Hertl would score with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, completing the comeback for the Vegas Golden Knights with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining on the clock. For Hertl, that'd be his 21st goal of the season, assisted by Eichel and Stone. So the Vegas Golden Knights would win 4-3. The Florida Panthers played host to the Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk would score, opening up this game for the Senators, getting his 21st goal of the season on the power play from Batherson and Tim Stützle. His brother Matthew Tkachuk would tie the game up at 1, getting a power play goal of his own, his 22nd of the season from Reinhart and Barkov, 6:18 of the second period. Speaking of Barkov, he would get the eventual game-winning goal, getting his 14th of the season, assisted by Tkachuk and Verhaeghe, 11:36 of the second. Gustav Forsling would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 8th of the year, assisted by Nate Schmidt, 16:26 of the second. Sam Bennett would increase the lead to 4-1, with just over 2 minutes remaining in the second, getting his 18th of the year, assisted by Tkachuk and Rodriguez. And in the third, the Sens were down by 3. They pulled their goalie. Unfortunately, they would not work out. And they had a power play too. It was basically a 6-on-4 at that point. Anton Lundell would get the empty net goal, shorthanded, with 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining on the clock. So the Panthers would win 5-1. The Battle of Pennsylvania had the Philadelphia Flyers playing host to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Scott Laughton would kick things off for the Flyers in the first, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Konechny and Kuzmenko, 1 minute 44 of the opening frame. Erik Karlsson would tie the game up in the second, getting his 6th of the year from Grizzlejic and Raquel, 4:19 of the middle frame. Garnet Hathaway would break the tie, 12:26 of the middle frame, getting his 8th goal of the season unassisted. Travis Konechny would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 22nd of the year from York and Sanheim, 4:27 of the third. Anthony Beauvillier would score, 5:42 in the third period, cutting into the lead, getting his 12th of the year from Hayes and Heinen. So the Flyers would win 3-2. The Columbus Blue Jackets played host to the New York Rangers. Arthur Kaliev would open up the scoring for the Rangers in the first, getting his 3rd of the year from Lindgren and Zibanejad, 1 minute and 56 seconds in the opening frame. Kent Johnson would tie the game up at 1, getting his 17th of the year from Werenski and Fantilli, 14:31 of the first period. Justin Danforth would score, putting the Blue Jackets up on top, 15:29 of the first period. For Danforth, that'd be his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Jack Johnson and Aston Rees. Mika Zibanejad would tie the game up at 2, getting his 11th goal of the year from Fox and Kreider, 6:38 of the second frame. James Van Riemsdyk would put the Blue Jackets back on top, getting his 11th goal of the year from Severson and Sillinger, 17:17 of the second period. Urho Vakinen would get his first goal as a New York Ranger since being acquired by the Ducks from Will Cooley and Vincent Trocheck, 1 minute and 57 seconds of the third, tying the game up at 3. Will Cooley would score with 1 minute and 39 seconds remaining in the game, getting his 14th of the year, assisted by Trocheck. So the Rangers would come back and win this game 4-3. All right, now we're off to the Central Division, as we have the St. Louis Blues, who played host to a division rival in the Chicago Blackhawks. Craig Smith would open up the scoring for Chicago in the first period, getting his 7th goal of the year, assisted by Maroon and Martinez. Ryan Donato would increased the lead to 2-0, getting his 19th of the season, assisted by Connor Bedard, 5:42 of the opening frame. Philip Broberg would cut into the lead, 1 minute and 40 seconds in the second period. For Broberg, that'd be his 4th goal of the season from Joseph and Braden Shen. Nathan Walker would tie the game up just 10 seconds after that, unassisted, getting his 6th goal of the season. So we're tied up at 2, just over 2 minutes into the frame. Matthew Joseph would put the Blues on top with just under 3 minutes remaining. For Joseph, that'd be his 3rd goal of the season from Shen and Dylan Holloway. Alec Martinez would tie the game up early in the third, getting his 4th of the year from Teravainen and Mikheyev, 3 minutes and 50 seconds of the third. Cam Fowler would score, putting the Blues on top, getting his 6th of the season from Thomas and Buchnevich, 4:32 of the third period. Teuvo Teravainen would tie the game up 6 minutes and 8 seconds of the third, getting his 12th of the year from Foligno and Mikheyev. There was no scoring the rest of the third, or in overtime, we would need a shootout to settle this one. Oh, sorry, I'm not done yet. That's my bad. Ilya Mikheyev would put the Blackhawks up on top, 5-4, 11:08 of the third, getting his 10th of the season from Foligno and Vlasic. The Blues would tie it up from Robert Thomas, getting his 13th of the year from Broberg and Bolduc, 15:23 of the third. Now I can say there was no scoring the rest of the third, or in overtime, we would need a shootout to decide the winner, and Radim Faksa would get the game-winning goal, putting the Blues on top, 6-5. The Vancouver Canucks played host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Philip Hronek would score in the first, exactly 7 minutes into the frame from Pettersson and Forbort, giving the Canucks a 1-0 lead. Morgan Riley would tie the game up with just 6 seconds remaining in the second, assisted by Ekman Larsson and Austin Matthews. In the third period, Brock Besser would get the game-winning goal, his 18th of the season on the power play from Cheadle and Hronek. 8:56 of the third. Nashville played host to the Buffalo Sabres. I wasn't kidding, there was a lot of games on Saturday. Tommy Novak would kick things off for Nashville in the first, getting his 11th goal of the season, unassisted, 6:57 of the opening frame. Oops, wrong date. I gotta go back. Come on now. All right, let's scroll. Where are we at? Okay, so after this, I still got, oh my gosh, there's a lot of games to cover from Saturday. Tommy Novak would open up the scoring for Nashville, 6:57 of the opening frame, getting his 11th goal of the season. Brady Shea would tie the game up would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 6th goal of the year from Ryan O'Reilly and Jonathan Marchessault, 9:26 of the opening frame. Bowen Byram would cut into the lead, making it 2-1 in favor of Nashville. For Byram, that'd be his 7th goal of the year, assisted by Zucker and Alex Tuch, 15:21 of the first. Rasmus Dahlin would tie the game up at 2, getting his 7th goal of the year from Benson and Ryan McLeod, 18:25 of the opening period. Philip Forsberg would put the Nashville Predators back on top, getting a power play goal, his 20th of the season, from Ryan O'Reilly and Roman Josi. Oh my gosh. 14:31 of the second period. Brady Shea would get his 2nd goal of the game, increasing the lead to 4-2. For Shea, that'd be his 7th goal of the season from O'Reilly and Marchessault. 15:13 of the second frame. Alex Tuch would cut into the lead, getting his 19th goal of the year from Byram and Dahlin, 17:43 of the middle frame. Philip Forsberg would get his 2nd goal of the game, 6 minutes and 58 seconds in the third. For Forsberg, that'd be his 21st goal of the season from O'Reilly and Marchessault. Dylan Cousins would cut into the lead, getting a power play goal, 12 minutes and 30 seconds to be exact. For Cousins, that'd be his 11th goal of the season from Tuch and Owen Power. Buffalo would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, did not mount to any scoring, for them at least. Jonathan Marchessault would get the empty net goal for the Nashville Predators, winning this game 6-4. Now we're off to Minnesota as the Wild played host to the New York Islanders. I feel like every team played on Saturday. Marco Rossi would kick things off for the Wild, his 19th of the year, assisted by Boldy and Spurgeon. 3 minutes and 19 seconds of the first. Kyle Palmieri would tie the game up, 3 minutes and 32 seconds of the first period. For Palmieri, that'd be his 16th goal of the season, assisted by Nelson and Siplikov. Nelson would score, giving the Islanders a 2-1 lead, just 28 seconds in the second. For Nelson, that'd be his 17th goal of the year, assisted by Siplikov and Palmieri. Anders Lee would increase the lead to 3-1 for New York, getting his 23rd of the year, assisted by Paranovich, 7:17 of the second period. Frederick Gaudreau would cut into the lead, getting a power play goal, his 11th of the season, assisted by Ogren and Faber, 13:21 of the second. Matt Boldy would score with just over 2 minutes remaining in the second period, getting his 19th goal of the year, assisted by Broden and Spurgeon. Yakov Trenin would score, putting the Minnesota Wild up on top with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in the second. For Trenin, that'd be his 6th goal of the year from Middleton and Kuznetsov. I probably screwed that up big time. Matt Boldy would score, be an own goal, getting his 2nd of the game, I believe, his 20th of the season, 5:53 of the third, increasing the lead to 5-3. The Islanders were down by 2 goals with just over 4 minutes to go. Unfortunately, it did not pan out as Marcus Foligno would get the empty net goal, his 10th of the season, unassisted. So the Wild would double up on the Islanders 6-3, despite the fact they were down 3-1. All right, now we're off to Calgary as the Flames played host to the Seattle Kraken. Morgan Frost would kick things off in the second period, getting his 13th goal of the season from Sharon Govich and Uyghur, 2:22 of the second. Nazem Kadri would increase the lead to 2-0, 6 minutes and 37 seconds in the third. For Kadri, that'd be his 19th goal of the year from Huberdeau and Miromanov. Shane Wright would cut into the lead, getting his 12th of the season from Larson and Burakovsky, 13:12 of the third period. Andrei Burakovsky would tie the game up with just under 5 minutes remaining, getting his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Shane Wright. There was no scoring the rest of the third. We would need overtime to settle this one. And big surprise, Matty Beniers will get the game-winning goal, his 13th of the season, on the power play from Vince Dunn and Chandler Stevenson. 2 minutes and 58 seconds in the extra frame. The San Jose Sharks played host to the Dallas Stars. And this is a one-sided affair, to say the least. William Eklund would kick things off for San Jose in the first, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Celebrini and Toffoli. Fabian Zetterlund would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 15th of the year from Will Smith and Paturalski. 2 minutes and 46 seconds of the first. Matt Duchene would cut into the lead, 3 minutes and 2 seconds of the first, getting his 21st of the year, assisted by Grandlin. Jason Robertson would score over halfway through the period, getting his 20th of the season from Dumba and Bischel, tying the game up at 2. Mason Marchment would give Dallas their first lead of the night, his 14th of the season from Duchene and Grandlin, 13:24 of the first period. Matt Duchene would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 22nd of the season, on the power play from Harley and Johnston, 7 minutes and 30 seconds of the middle frame. Marvik Bork would increase the lead to 5-2, getting his 8th of the year from Ben and Dadonov, 15:42 of the second period. Wyatt Johnston would score, getting his 16th of the year from Buck and Blackwell, 11 minutes and 20 seconds of the third, increasing the lead to 6-2. Thomas Harley would score, giving the Dallas Stars a 7-2 lead at that point. For Harley, that was his 9th goal of the season from Lindell and Rupe Hintz, 12:33 of the third. Walker Duehr would kind of stop the bleeding a little bit, giving the Sharks their 3rd goal of the game, cutting the lead to 4. For Duehr, that'd be his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Grundstrom and Delandria. Jamie Benn would increase the lead back to 5, getting his 14th goal of the season from Bischel, 13:37 of the third, and that's where the scoring would finally stop. So the Sharks would lose 8-3. And the last game from Saturday took place in Los Angeles. Thankfully, there weren't 11 goals in this game. Brian Dumoulin would get his 1st goal as a member of the Anaheim Ducks, scoring 7 minutes and 4 seconds of the third. So there's no scoring in the first 2 periods, hard to believe, from Trouba and Leo Carlsson. Adrian Kempe would tie the game up at 1, getting his 25th of the year from Deneau and Fogle, 17:21 of the third period. There was no scoring the rest of the third or overtime. We would need a shootout to settle this one, and Trevor Zegras would get the game-winning goal, giving the Ducks a 2-1 lead, or win, sorry. And Sunday, just 2 games to report, so thankfully not a whole lot of games. The first one had 2 teams from the Atlantic, as the Montreal Canadiens did a back-to-back with, a lot of teams played Saturday as well. with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Nick Paul would kick things off for Tampa Bay in the first, getting his 16th of the season, assisted by Brian Hagel, 6:56 of the opening frame. Victor Hedman would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 8th of the year from Goncalves and Cirelli, 10:28 of the first. Brendan Gallagher would finally get Montreal on the board late in the first on the power play, his 13th of the year from Newhook and Matheson, 18:53 of the first. Braden Point would increase the lead to 3-1, getting a power play goal of his own. That'd be his 31st goal of the season from Gensel and Hedman. Zemgus Giro Jensens, if I said that name correctly, I hope I did, would get his first goal of the season for Tampa Bay, increasing the lead to 4-1, assisted by Atkinson and Isimot, 6:43 of the second. Christian Dvorak would cut into the lead, making it 4-2 at that point. For Dvorak, that'd be his 6th goal of the year from Savard and Slavkovsky, 12:45 of the second. Brendan Gallagher would get his 2nd goal of the game unassisted, 9 minutes and 19 seconds of the third, cutting the lead to 4-3. Montreal was losing in the game. They would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they were not able to tie the game up as Anthony Cirelli would get the empty netter with just 16 seconds remaining in the game. For Cirelli, that'd be his 20th goal of the season from Gensel and Hagel. So Tampa Bay would win 5-3. And the only other game from Sunday took place in Washington as we had the Capitals playing host to the Utah Hockey Club. Just a minute and 10 seconds in the opening frame, Utah would strike first, courtesy of Josh Doan, getting his 4th goal of the season from McBain and Charlie Ingram. Michael Carcone would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 5th goal of the year from Genther and DeSimone, a minute 42 of the first. So just 32 seconds apart, 2 goals were scored by Utah. Tom Wilson would score, putting the Capitals on the board, getting a power play goal, his 23rd of the season from Dubois and Dylan Strome, 3 minutes and 47 seconds of the first. Jack McBain would increase the lead back to 2, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Kesserling and Josh Doan, 7 minutes and 7 seconds of the first. Pierre-Luc Dubois would cut into the lead, getting his 13th goal of the season on the power play from Wilson and Ovechkin, 12:38 of the first period. In the second, Dylan Genther would score, getting a power play goal, his 20th of the season from Keller and Sergachev, 2 minutes and 47 seconds of the second. Dylan Strome would cut into the lead, getting his 16th of the year from Ovechkin and McMichael, 4:49 of the third period. Tom Wilson would get his 2nd goal of the game, tying it up at 4, getting his 24th of the season from Ovechkin and John Carlson. There was no scoring the rest of the third or overtime. We would need a shootout to settle this one, and Nick Schmaltz would get the game-winning goal, giving the Utah Hockey Club a 5-4 lead. All right, now take a look at the standings through the wild card. So as always, going to start in the Atlantic Division. And I'm just going to scroll over to the wins, loss, overtime, and points total. So Florida is heading into the Four Nations break, still in first place of their division with a 34-20-3 mark, 71 points on the season. Toronto is 3 points behind them with a record of 33-20-2. They have 68 points. Tampa Bay is 31-20-4. They have 66 points. In the Metropolitan Division, the Capitals have a comfortable 10-point lead on the second-place Hurricanes with a record of 36-11-8. Carolina is 33-19-4. And New Jersey is 2 points behind Carolina with a record of 31-20-6. The two teams thus far in the wild card are both from the Atlantic Division. Ottawa is sitting in the number 1 wild card spot with a record of 29-23-4. They have 62 points. The Detroit Red Wings are 28-22-5. They have 61 points. Looking at the rest of the standings in the Eastern Conference, the Blue Jackets are 1 point out of a playoff spot, as are the Boston Bruins, with records of 26-22-8 and 27-24-6, respectively. The New York Rangers are 3 points back with a record of 27-24-4. The New York Islanders are 25-23-7. They have 57 points. They are 4 points back. Montreal is 6 points out of a playoff spot with a record of 25-26-5. Pittsburgh also has 55 points, as do the Philadelphia Flyers, with records of 23-25-9 and 24-26-7. The Buffalo Sabres are still at the bottom of the Eastern Conference with a record of 22, 27, and 5. All right, now we're off to the Western Conference, starting in the Central Division. The Winnipeg Jets have a comfortable 9-point lead on the second-place Dallas Stars with a record of 39, 14, and 3, 81 points. As I said before, the Stars are in second place with a record of 35, 18, and 2. Minnesota is 2 points behind them with a record of 33, 19, and 4. The three teams from the Pacific are the Edmonton Oilers. They have 72 points, as do the Vegas Golden Knights, with records of 34, 17, and 4, and 33, 17, and 6, respectively. Los Angeles is still holding on to that third place slot with a record of 29, 17, and 7. Two teams in the wild card are the Colorado Avalanche with a record of 33, 22, and 2. They have 68 points. They're trailing Minnesota only by 2 points for that third spot in the Central Division. The Vancouver Canucks are 26, 18, and 11. They are also 2 points behind LA for third in their division. And the rest of the Western Conference looks like this. Calgary finds themselves 3 points back of Vancouver for that last wildcard spot with a record of 26, 21, and 8. The Utah Hockey Club are 6 points out with a record of 24, 23, and 9. They have 57 points. St. Louis is 25, 26, and 5. They have 55 points. The Anaheim Ducks are 24, 24, and 6. They have 54 points. The Seattle Kraken are 24, 29, and 4. They have 52 points. Nashville Predators are 19, 28, and 7. They have 45 points. Chicago is just 4 points behind them with a record of 17, 31, and 7. And San Jose is 4 points behind them with a record of 15, 35, and 7. They have 37 points. All right, now I'm finally caught up on the National Hockey League. I will be covering the Four Nations Cup, and that should be fun as we have Canada, the Finland, United States, and Sweden, all 4 teams vying for that infamous Four Nations Cup trophy, if that's what it is that they have to present at the end of this mini tournament. Okay, as always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative as well. Until next time, and as always, take care.